northwest part of the state, a former state senator, a Navy Reserve veteran who served in Afghanistan, and by trade he was in real estate and construction. And so again, almost before this thing ever got started, he was declared the winner in that one. Now here locally, I keep looking for the Vanderburgh County races to show up on the clerk's office website. They also typically send out emails. I talked to Marcia Abel this afternoon trying to get an idea when we might see some returns, and she said, and you can't hold them to this, after all, this is an election and things happen. She expected that those mail-in votes, which they've had for a while, that they would be ready to be released by 6 o'clock, and it's 5 minutes until 7, and we still haven't seen them. I'll try to check on that and see when they come in. So we were expecting that. But I wanted to talk about a couple of the races for Vanderburgh County Commissioner and the Vanderburgh County Council. Amy Canterbury is, she was with the United Way, CEO there. Before that, she was the CEO at the Red Cross here locally. She has a banking background, and she was the second Republican to upset Cheryl Musgrave, who has been a very strong vote getter for a very long time. But you remember just last year, she lost in the Republican primary to Natalie Rasher for mayor, and then she loses in the Republican primary to Amy Canterbury. And you would have to consider, especially Vanderburgh County is as Republican as the city of Evansville is Democrat. We found that out this year after Lloyd Winnecke, a Republican, held the mayor's office for all those many years. We found out in the last election with Stephanie Terry that it really is inside the city of Evansville still a Democrat city. But Amy Canterbury with a very high profile, a very high name recognition, so she has to be considered a strong favorite against Hope Fussner, the Democrat there for Vanderburgh County Commissioner in District 3. Fussner is a project manager at Meade Johnson Reckitt. And then for Vanderburgh County Council at large, I'm just going to run through these candidates. And again, wish I had some numbers to show you, but we just don't have them yet. Joe Kiefer II is a Republican candidate there. If he were to win, he would be filling the seat, or one of the seats. These are at large. This is that at large seat that his father, Joe Kiefer Sr., held for 2 terms. Kiefer's in wealth management, and he's on the board, has been on the board at the Visitors and Convention Bureau. Jill Hahn is a Republican incumbent who's running. She's the Southwest Community Liaison in the Office of Community and Rural Affairs. She also, for 9 years, led the Randall T. Shepard Leadership and Law Academy. She taught in the EVSC for 32 years, so as an incumbent, she comes in with a lot of strength. Ed Bassmeyer, the 3rd Republican here going for this at-large seat on the Vanderburgh County Council. He was a deputy, he was a firefighter, he's currently in security at the Vanderburgh County Building Authority. And then the Democrats are Bob Deig, and he is an incumbent. He's served in the Indiana General Assembly. And then a couple of lesser known names, Dustin Stevens, the 2nd Democrat, and the 3rd Democrat there, Carice D. Johnson. If you'll give me just a second, I might see if I can refresh this, see if we get anything. And we don't. So I was looking at the Vanderburgh County Clerk's Office website for returns, and they're not there yet. So I hope this doesn't bode poorly for the rest of the evening. You could never predict. I mean, you can predict because it's a presidential election and so many more people are voting that it might take a little bit longer. But at the end of the day, you can never really predict. These things are done by humans. These votes are counted by human beings with the help of machines. And sometimes you run into problems. But so Jordan, there it is. Hopefully we'll get some results here in Vanderburgh County. And it's important. I mean, when there's a presidential election, so much of the focus goes on that, then to somewhat of a lesser degree, the governor's race and the congressional races. And sometimes these county races can get lost, but they're very, very important to the citizens. And so we're looking for those numbers to come in.
Absolutely, Randy. Thank you for keeping us updated on that. And we will come back to you once we get some Vanderburgh numbers in so we can get an update on that. You mentioned mail-in ballot voting. We did know that 38,000 people voted early, either by mail or in person. And based on the numbers we got, about 6,000 mail-in votes were sent. That's a lot of envelopes to open up and run through machines right now. Could be part of the delay. Of course, that's just speculation on our end. But we hope to get some of those results soon. We are getting results meanwhile. Randy, we'll let you get back to it from other places around Indiana. I have Du Bois County final results here that just came in a few moments ago. I want to highlight a couple of races. County Council at large voting for 3. We have Sonia Haas, Mike Klusner, and Doug Ublahor. I hope I said all those names right. Those are your 3 winners, all 3 Republicans in Du Bois County. Also, Southeast Du Bois County School Board at large, we're voting for 1, and Matt Lubenhusen, 60% of the vote there. Those are final. I've also got Pike County, I believe, Christy, right here. Is Pike County, and we're going to highlight the county commissioners and the county council at large. So County Commissioner District 1 with a commanding 78% of the vote, Republican Jeff Nelson, the winner in Pike County, 100% of the vote going to Ryan Coleman, because as I see now as I look further down, he ran unopposed. And then County Council at large, looks like we are voting for 3 there as well. Jeff Harding, Eric Smith, and Greg Willis will be the 3, all 3 Republicans winning in Pike County Council at large. We are expecting Republican Governor-elect Mike Braun to be speaking at any moment, so let's go ahead and check back in. We'll give you a quick live look out there, if I can get through my buttons here real quick. This is a live look. I'll spare you the sound right now because I promise you there's not a lot going on, just a lot of room noise. But Governor-elect Mike Braun is expected to be speaking at 7 o'clock Central. That is just a minute and a half away. Our Caroline Clapp is there. Braun declared the winner very early on by the Associated Press, almost by the time the polls closed in Evansville. Of course, most of the state on Eastern time, so they would close 5 o'clock our time. By the time our polls closed here locally at 6 o'clock, it was very quick that Governor-elect Mike Braun was declared the winner by the Associated Press. We will get you out there as soon as he is speaking. I'll keep an eye on that here for you. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and take another look at what's going on nationally with the presidential race. Of course, all eyes on the White House. Let's go ahead and pull that up for you here. And as you can see, not a lot has changed since we checked in with Dr. Dion. Trump has 23 right now. Harris 3. Of course, this is a race to 270. The only states that have been declared firm, dark colors, and we will remind you, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia declared for Trump. Vermont right now for Harris. Those lighter colors, if you're just joining us, those are states that are leaning that way based on the votes that have been counted. But the Associated Press, who we use here at 14 News for these national races, they have not declared that a winner. They have not called that race, but it is leaning that way. 2 states I want to point out on the East Coast, North Carolina, Georgia. North Carolina leaning blue, Georgia leaning red. Those are 2 swing states that are very important in this election, according to the polls. 2 of 7 swing states that could decide this election, one going one way, one going the other. North Carolina with 16 electoral votes, leaning Harris. I'm seeing 52% Harris, 46% Trump. Georgia with 16 electoral votes, 54, almost 55% Trump, 45% to Kamala Harris, with 32% of the votes having been counted there. Again, we are waiting for Mike Braun. Oh, hold on real quick, because I think Mississippi just got called as I clicked off of that, and Alabama. Okay. It doesn't appear to have any votes in there. Let me try refreshing this and make sure that that wasn't a mistake. It doesn't seem like we're populating the results right now. I'll check on that while Governor-elect Braun, sorry, you're going to have to forgive me on that. Governor-elect Braun is speaking, because we got some states, Oklahoma, Tennessee, just popping in here, red, Maryland, blue, but we're not seeing numbers. So we'll check on that here in a moment. But again, we are waiting for Mike Braun to be speaking at in Indianapolis at a hotel. I believe it's the Marriott downtown Indianapolis. Our Caroline Clapp's been doing a great job for us out there covering that race. She spoke with all 3 candidates for Indiana governor, and just a bit ago, if you missed it, talked us through 3 key points that Mike Braun wanted to address, and as he has now been elected governor. And she said there's some cheers there, but she has not seen Mike Braun quite yet. So we will go ahead and stand by and wait for him. Thank you for joining us on election night. If you're just popping in, Jordan Yandy here. We will be here all night long, as if it need be, to bring you those results as they come in minute by minute. I'm seeing colors light up all over the place on the presidential map right now. Let's go ahead and take you back there because things are happening very quickly here. So what's that? Polls in Illinois. Producer Christy with a great point. Polls in Illinois just closed. So we will probably be getting some results from Illinois, our other part of the tri-state, the third leg there. We've got a lot happening here, and we're going to walk you through it here. So right now, at the top of the screen, you can see Donald Trump with 95 electoral votes, Kamala Harris 35. This is according to the Associated Press, and we've got like a Christmas tree, all of a sudden this map is lighting up. Let's start on the East Coast, traditionally a blue area, and we're seeing that happen right now. Vermont, we've known, has been called for Harris. Massachusetts and Connecticut, that is 18 combined electoral votes between those two. Now a dark blue, which means the Associated Press has called that. Then moving more west, Pennsylvania, that's a big one. Let's talk about Pennsylvania, because when Dr. Dion was in here, we talked about how Pennsylvania could decide the election. Of the 7 swing states, that's one that both candidates were pouring money into. That is now leaning blue. Again, that has not been filled in. 3% of the votes have been counted. It hasn't been filled in a dark color, which means it's leaning that way. The race has not been called, but early returns with 3% of the vote show Harris out to a massive lead, 72.5% to Trump's 27%. So it looks like she's off to a great start there with the early counting. Ohio also leaning blue. That's an interesting one. Ohio was supposed to be a red state. The last time they went blue was in 2012. The Trump campaign was counting on that one to be a win. So that one, if it switches, could be an unlikely swing state that we're seeing that could have a big impact in this election. West Virginia, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, South Carolina, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, and Oklahoma, all now filled in a dark red color by the Associated Press. That's why you see Trump's numbers so high right now, because only these dark colors are going to be the ones that are counted. The lighter shades haven't been counted yet because they haven't been called. Texas as blue. That is a shocker. Texas has not voted Democrat in at least the last 3 elections. That's as far back as I did my research doing such a broad look at things. But with 9% of the votes counted, Kamala Harris 51%, Trump under 48%. That would be a massive hit to the Trump campaign and a big win for the Harris campaign if that one would to be called Democrat, and something that Texas is not known for. Again, we're moving east to west as polls are closing in different time zones. Harris campaign also looking good. Pennsylvania, Ohio, New Jersey's not a surprise, but that one's a new one. Virginia and North Carolina we've seen as a light blue. Again, Georgia, North Carolina, 2 of the swing states, along with Pennsylvania, another swing state that we've been keeping an eye on. Interesting to see where Wisconsin goes as polls have just closed there. That's another big swing state that both candidates have poured a lot of money into and are trying to win. Getting a text from Caroline here, so let me take a look at that. Looks like we are still waiting. 7:05 on the time. We are expecting Governor-elect Mike Braun at any moment. You're taking a live look into his watch party as you see a lot of people on their feet, a lot of excited, happy faces as they wait for him to be speaking. No sign of him yet from Caroline, so we'll go ahead and move on. Yeah, let's go ahead and get Dr. Dion's take on a couple things. We'll bring him back in here in just a moment because, as we mentioned, things are happening and they are happening fast in the presidential race. Again, this is the Associated Press through our website, 14news.com. If you'd like to follow along, you can do that there. This map, ever-changing, and it's been happening very quickly as polls closed in the, mountain time zone. They're in the center of the country, Oklahoma, Texas, all in that area. We're going to start to see things more west moving on. Of course, we may not know the winner of the election tonight, but we will get a pretty good sense of how things are going here by the end of the night. Dr. Dion's coming back in, so let's go ahead and widen out our shot here so we can bring him in and take a look at this. Thanks for popping back in here on short notice. We appreciate it, but we've got a lot happening here with this map. This is the Associated Press map, as we talked about earlier. Dr. Robert Dion, 14 News' political expert, professor at the University of Evansville. Talk me through what you're seeing here. Let me scroll down a little bit and pop it back up for our viewers.
A lot of polls have just closed.
We've got some shockers. Yeah, and we just mentioned that. As we hit 7 Central, a lot of polls have just closed. Starting with Pennsylvania, your thoughts. We talked just a few minutes ago about how that could be so crucial for these candidates.
It's an enormous get. It's 19 electoral votes, and it tends to be a Democratic state, but it's been very, very close. And, of course, Donald Trump won it in 2016, and he put on a very spirited fight, and it's not over yet. It's going to probably take another day or more to count all the votes there. But, boy, whoever gets it is going to have a very big leg up to be the next president. So Pennsylvania appears to be leaning Democratic at the moment, but gosh, they just closed the polls.
Sure. A poll that's been closed a little bit longer, Ohio, but also one that just closed, Texas. Again, it's early. They're leaning that way.
Yeah.
Those are 2 surprises leaning that way. Do you think that sticks?
I can't imagine that that's going to last, but if it does last, then you're looking at a blowout. You're looking at a landslide. And when I was out in the newsroom just now, I was reading some stuff on a different network, and apparently the Harris campaign has called attention to Boone County, Indiana, because Trump won it by 18 points last time, and he won it by just 10 points this time. So the suggestion was from the Harris campaign that if that's an indication that there's some sort of national trend among suburban voters to be less supportive of the Trump campaign, that offers a big opening. There you go. Texas flipped.
Switching colors. So we were a bit alarmed by that because it was so unusual, but very quickly switching back to red, which is what we expect and what the Trump campaign was counting on.
The big question of the night for Texas is can Ted Cruz survive? Is Ted Cruz in any danger? And he's the incumbent senator in a Republican state, so you have to expect that he's going to be favored to win. But there's a very strong challenge from Colin Allred. For me, the idea that Texas was a competitive state at the presidential level just is a fantasy.
Yeah, it was shocking when that popped up, but just a few moments ago, this lit up like a Christmas tree. We started seeing all kinds of things. Boone County, Indiana. Let's take a look at that because we have Indiana maps on here. You said Boone County, and you're going to have to help me out with the geographic
spelled with a
location
B.
of that. I got to find it on here. I know
it's near Indianapolis.
I know it's somewhere up here. Boone County, here it is, if it'll go back to me. Boone County, you said, okay, talk me through what you were saying about Boone County one more time for us.
So I guess 4 years ago, Donald Trump won by an 18% margin, and this time around they cut it in half. So
let's pop that back up so we can see it. Okay, so right now 90% of the votes counted there, so pretty close to final results, and it keeps wanting to dip out on me. Let me just hard click on it. Trump 55%, Harris looks like 43%. You said she was calling attention to that as possible trend.
Because it was much closer than they expected.
Okay.
Yeah. And so one of the things that we're seeing all across the country is that there's been a strong shift in the last year or so of educated voters, college grads, towards the Democratic Party. And that hasn't always been the case. Suburban voters who often lean Republican are now less Republican, and women, obviously. So you got college-educated women in the suburbs, as one might find in Boone County. And it offers an opening, I think, for a candidate who doesn't need to win that constituency, but they want to do better than the typical Democrat does. So you want to cut the margins.
It's interesting to me that with all the chaos happening on election night, the Harris campaign would be dialed into Boone County, Indiana, and be taking that and analyzing it. I mean, they're everywhere. They're hyper-focused on this, and you just see it with a comment like that.
Yeah. I've got books lining the shelf in the office about this new wave, this new age of campaigning, micro-targeting, big data, drilling down, and really in a granular fashion, seeing where all the motion is and watching heat maps and really going to town on this in real time so that not a moment is wasted and they can deploy resources. And so they're frantically looking at the results today and pushing out these statements about Boone County, Indiana, of all places.
That's fascinating stuff, how dialed in they could be
Yep.
and hyper-focused on this stuff. Let's go back and take one more look at the presidential map to see if anything has changed.
Ohio
since we
was
jumped off
leaning
of that.
blue, and it I still think that's an early call for that.
So we got 34% of the votes counted there. Harris with 52, Trump with 47. Hasn't been officially called, but we do see a lean. Let me pop that up so you can see it. We do have a lean there, according to the Associated Press, for Ohio. Are there any other shockers on here, or potentially any other states that you think aren't necessarily being thought of as swing states, but could become swing states as the night goes on?
Well, Ohio, obviously, but I look at Michigan there. Michigan was giving people palpitations earlier in the year because of the unfolding war in Gaza,
Sure.
The huge Arab population there, the ongoing challenges of the deindustrialization up there among blue-collar voters. Michigan often, well, it leans Democratic, but it was looking like a heavy lift this time.
Sure.
Joe Biden stepped aside. The war in Israel has not gone away, and that has hurt Kamala Harris. But she's been able to compensate by reaching out again to women and moderate Republicans, and sort of they are feeling really good about Michigan, according to what they're saying, or what the vibes are for the moment. So if they hold Michigan, that's a very good thing.
Sure.
If she loses Michigan, which was very much a live prospect a couple weeks ago, then it's really hard to see yourself making it to the White House, and that would be a crushing blow for them.
Michigan, one of our 7 swing states,
Yeah.
and 16 going for Trump, and 20 going for
Yeah.
Biden. So it would be very interesting to
Yeah.
see. Of course, a lot can change in 4 years, and that has been proven with Michigan the last 3 elections, switching who they're voting for. You mentioned Iowa to me a bit earlier, which is typically thought of as a red state.
Right.
However, there's a chance because of some polling. What's going on?
A really stunning poll that just broke right at the end of the week last week. Ann Selzer is a first-rate person, and she does polling here in Indiana as well for Brian Howey of the Howey Political Report, and she is almost always right on the money. Every once in a blue moon, a pollster will miss it, but her record is really stellar. Her model to generate the sample and to weight the sample is ever so slightly different from some of the other models that are out there from other polling firms, and she shocked the world and said Harris is ahead in her sample by 3 points.
Wow.
And Trump won it by 8 points last time around, so that would be a massive thing. And what they found was gigantic movement among older white women,
Interesting.
who one might expect in Iowa would be Republican voters, and maybe they are. But they were not voting for Trump, and so we have to remember sometimes that not every Republican votes for the Republican nominee, and not every Democratic voter votes for the Democratic
It's
nominee.
not so black and white every single election.
Yeah.
Dr. Diane, we appreciate it. We'll let you get back to it, and we'll definitely be checking in with you again. This is great stuff.
Right.
Thank you so much for being our political expert tonight and giving us that analysis. We do appreciate it. We are still waiting on Governor Mike Braun to be speaking. We are keeping an eye on that right now. I see Randy Moore popping in. Randy, you wanted to go ahead and jump in here and read us some results?
All right,
just
yeah,
widen
these
out
just
here.
came off of the Vanderbilt County Clerk's website, and as I talked about here a few minutes, just a few minutes ago. So these are the all absentee, mail, and partial early in person. Okay, so let's just see what we've got going on down here. So it's interesting that Harris is actually in the lead in Vanderbilt County with 7,500 votes to Trump's 6,400. Let's go down to some of these county races.
Can we
though.
actually check back in with you in just a second?
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
Mike Brown's
absolutely.
about to speak.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Randy's got Vanderbilt County results. We'll check back with him in just a moment. However, we do believe Mike Braun is on the stage and about to speak. So let's go ahead and take you out live to Caroline Clapp. She is in Indianapolis. Governor-elect Mike Braun about to give a victory speech there. We're taking you out there live. Caroline, if you can hear me, we are not getting you right now. All right, we'll wait 1 second for Caroline.
You hear me now, Jordan?
Signal. There it is. We got you, Caroline. Go ahead.
Great. All right, I will start over. So as you can see behind me, we have quite a few people that have come up on the stage. We don't see Mike Braun just yet, but he's expected to speak any minute now. All of his family and friends are coming up on the stage behind me. So that's going to start any minute. But again, the Associated Press called this race very quickly, Jordan, with only about 12% of the vote in. They called Mike Braun as the projected winner for Indiana's next governor. He is set to become the 52nd governor. The cheers are erupting behind me, a lot of excitement as they prepare to hear him speak. But again, viewers at home, we know that Mike Braun is a Du Bois County native who spends a lot of time in southern Indiana. He had spent 37 years running a business there, and then he left to serve in various roles before becoming a U.S. Senator. He's held that Senate seat for the last 6 years, and he told me that he is ready to take over in the governor's race, Jordan. He's excited to take over for Governor Eric Holcomb, who has held that seat for the last 8 years. So again, Indiana staying red in the governor's seat, Jordan.
Absolutely, Caroline. And time permitting, if he comes up, please jump to him. But time permitting, you spoke with him and the other gubernatorial candidates. What were 3 things that stood out to you about his plan for the state if he won the election, which he now is projected to do?
Absolutely, Jordan. Well, all 3 candidates mentioned education. Something else that Governor Braun mentioned, or Senator Braun, projected Governor Braun mentioned, was talking about property taxes. And he knows that the main funding from property taxes is used for our schools, for our local governments, and he recognizes that is so important, but he also knows that Hoosiers want to be able to afford homes. So he said finding that right balance in property taxes is going to be one of his priorities, along with improving our education. Indiana does not rank well when it comes to other states in the country for math, English scores, so that's an area he knows we can improve on. And as well as health insurance. You know, he had that CEO position for that company in Du Bois County, and he said he really understands how important it is for workers, for working Hoosiers to have affordable health insurance. So again, we've got education, health insurance, and property taxes. Those were the top 3 concerns that he says he'll focus on when he takes office if these results are confirmed.
Sure, Caroline, and we see a lot going on behind you right now, and it seems like there's a lot of excitement in the room. Kind of talk to us. I see some people on the stage over your shoulder. What's going on behind you?
Yeah, Jordan. So, of course, we've got a lot of people here tonight. It's a mix of people. There are, of course, people that have been working with Braun in Washington, D.C. I spoke with several people who have been living in D.C., working with Braun, and then there's also people that are just everyday Hoosiers here that live in the Indianapolis metro area that are excited to hear these results tonight. So of course, there's a lot of anticipation. All eyes are on the stage behind me, Jordan, waiting any moment. It looks like it's going to be happening any moment now. So of course, we will get to that as soon as that starts. But again, I mentioned this earlier in the broadcast, but when I was walking around talking to people, a lot of confidence in Indiana governor's race and Attorney General Todd Rokita winning tonight. And then, of course, you know, there's TVs up showing the results coming for the presidential race. So whenever those come up and it's been announced that Trump has won a state, this whole room is erupting in cheers. Of course, they're hoping to see Donald Trump win the presidential race as well.
All right, Caroline, thanks so much. As we wait for Braun, let's go ahead and get you a couple of other results that have just come in. Caroline, stand by and don't go anywhere. Make sure to flag us down because we do want to hear his victory speech. Randy, you've got Vanderburgh County in just a moment. First, we do know that the results have been called in Owensboro for mayor, which was a race that we were watching closely. Tom Watson, I've been told, has won re-election there. So we will get you out. Liz DeSantis is live out there for us. But first, Randy, we have some Vanderburgh County results. This is our first batch of results.
Yeah, this is very, very early. As I said earlier on streaming here, that we were expecting to get the first results at 6 o'clock, and we really got them then at 6:57, but things happen. It's election night. It is interesting that this is just Vanderburgh County only, and we're talking about all absentee, mailed, and partial early in-person voting. So no votes that were counted today yet.
Okay.
So this is very, very early. But actually, Kamala Harris is leading in Vanderburgh County, 53.69% to Donald Trump's 45.26%. That could change, but
Not incredibly surprising either with a big city like Evansville typically leaning Democrat.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, but let's look at these county races. And so County Commissioner District 3, and we talked about Amy Canterbury, who'd been the CEO of Red Cross, also the CEO of United Way, and then she defeated Cheryl Musgrave in the Republican primary. You'd think that she would be a heavy favorite. She's in against the Democrat Hope Fussner. Again, this is very, very early, but Fussner actually has the early lead over Canterbury, 51% to 49%.
Okay, so very
we'll
tight
see
there.
where that goes. That one's very, very tight.
Yeah.
And again, as we said, it's early. Now, for Vanderburgh County Council at large, there are 6 candidates, 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats, and we're going to elect 3 people. Those other seats, the district seats, are not up for election this time. This is just the at-large seats. And so the top vote getter is actually a Democrat in the heavily Republican Vanderburgh County. That's Bob Deig. He has 19% of the vote. Number 2 so far is incumbent Ed Bassmeyer, a Republican. He's at 17%, followed by Carice D. Johnson. She is also a Democrat. So with 16, or make that 17%. So if it ended right there, you would have 2 Democrats being elected right there. And then just rounding out those 6, you would have Joe Kiefer II, and then you've got Jill Ann Hahn, and finally Dustin Stevens. And so, again, it's early on that, but finally we have some numbers, and it's a horse race.
Sure, absolutely. Again, just to update you, we are waiting on Mike Braun. The stage is set. I'm keeping an eye on that right here, so we will take you out there once we know Mike Braun is speaking. Randy Moore joining us, just giving us the first batch of Vanderburgh County results. Did we get a percentage? I know you mentioned that was early voting and mail-in. Do we have any idea of what kind of a percentage that is?
I think it's 10%, I think, is what it is so far.
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
All right. So
Yeah.
10% of registered.
Yeah.
No, we don't know exactly what that turnout
Right.
will be.
Right.
Also, did we have an update on the Owensboro mayor's race? Christy, our producer in the background right here. Not final. Okay. Sorry about that. So Tom Watson is leading. So we did make a mistake there. We want to apologize. Tom Watson is leading right now with 6,224 votes against Pamela Smith Wright's 4,627. We thought those were final. That was our mistake. Tom Watson has not officially won. He is leading, however. What is not a mistake is our Liz DeSantis is down there with that result once we have it. Again, we will be hearing from Mike Braun shortly, looking like more actions happening on the stage right now. And then afterwards, we will get you any updated Vanderburgh County results from Randy Moore. We will also be getting you some Kentucky results, hopefully when they come in. Things have been slow. We're going to try to talk to our Jamie French here in just a moment about that. Actually, an issue over in the Louisville area with some of their polls this morning could be delaying those results. So, Randy, we appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem at all.
One last thing before you go. You mentioned early results show a lot of Democrats winning, which Vanderburgh County typically leans more Republican. The city of Evansville typically leans more Democrat. Mm-hmm. In this past election where we saw Evansville Mayor Stephanie Terry elected, we saw a sweep by the Democrats. Could this be, it's early results.
We'll see. I mean,
Could we see a shift?
absolutely. Yeah, we could be seeing a shift. We'll see. It's very, very early. Now we should start seeing numbers roll in.
Yeah.
At least let's hope so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We do hope so, but as
Okay.
you mentioned several times, we don't know on election night. Randy, thanks. We'll let you get
All
back
right.
to it.
No
Jump back
problem.
in here
Okay.
if anything else changes.
Okay.
And we will try to get you out to Governor Braun, running a little bit late, but a little bit understandably so, celebrating a big win tonight. Let's run you through the presidential map one more time as we wait, and then we'll get you to some local results as we are standing by for Mike Braun. Not a ton of change happening right now on the presidential election map. Nothing else has been called firmly, I don't believe. Nope, still 95 to 35. Let's run you through some Indiana results here on our elections page. Again, this is on 14news.com, so if you want to follow along at home, you can certainly do that by going to 14news.com. Then up here, if you see my cursor on the elections tab, you can come down here, scroll down just a bit, and we've got our Indiana results here right now. Actually, I want to go back a little bit because those were the state results, which we already know have been decided. If you scroll down here just a little bit, more elections, Indiana general, there we go. Let's scroll past the state stuff because we've covered that extensively. We already hit Du Bois County. Gibson County doesn't look like we have too many numbers coming in just yet for some certain races. Actually, it looks like those are being filled in right now. Gibson County. Christy confirms, our producer, helping us out tonight, doing a great job, confirms that we are filling in those Gibson County results right now. So we'll get those to you very soon. Perry County, don't know if these are final, so I don't want to jump the gun there, but it looks like we have some results coming in. Of course, those are on your ticker at the bottom of the screen as well. Pike County, we touched on a bit earlier. Posey County numbers haven't come in just yet. Spencer County, looks like we've got some county council numbers. Again, I'm waiting to get handed papers just to confirm that these are final, but we do have some numbers and some pretty high numbers, so these could be the final results, but we will wait to get that officially confirmed for Spencer County. And then, as we mentioned, Randy Moore just ran through this. We've got a lot of votes happening in Vanderburgh County, but we do know 44,000 people voted before Election Day. So these results, as we see about 14,000 votes counted, we aren't even close to having all of the votes counted that were cast today. I mean, we're still just about 25-30% into the votes that were counted early. We were seeing high turnout for this election, and that is not surprising with what's at stake. A lot of voters that I spoke with throughout this process, I asked them, what do you think's at stake? Why were you so dead set on voting, even if it meant a long line in this election? And they just felt that the country and a number of things were at stake. This is a highly publicized election, even by U.S. presidential election standards. So we are still waiting on Mike Braun. We'll give you another live look in there. We've got some action on the stage, got some people looking off to the side, got a lot of reporters there as well. It's a big ordeal in Indianapolis for the 52nd governor-elect Mike Braun. We will take you out, I promise. Actually, we see some clapping, so let's see. Let's take a listen in and see if we can catch anything. Okay, I just heard from Caroline Clapp, and she said that Mike Braun is on his way to the stage. So we will keep you with a live look there. Coming up, just a little bit of tease of what we're going to have. Kentucky results have been very slow to come in. We do have some results for Owensboro Mayor, which is a race we've been watching. But we will be getting to Jamie French in just a little bit. I don't want to dive in there and then miss the beginning of Governor-elect Braun's speech, because Caroline did just tell us that he is there and about to take the stage. That's what you're seeing right there on your screen. So we don't want to miss that. Jamie, we will be coming to you eventually to talk about what's going on in Kentucky. Actually, some really interesting stuff happening in Jefferson County, where Louisville is, that could be delaying some of our results being counted. We'll get to that in just a moment and check in with some of the big races there. Let's give you a live listen in again and see if we can hear from the crowd any signals if Senator, now Governor-elect Braun, is getting close. That was perfectly timed. I hear some music, which is good. Caroline says false alarm. Okay. All right. Well, we will bring you back. Let's actually go ahead. I don't know if we can bring in Jamie yet because we are tied up with this. So let's bring it back here. Forgive us as we work through a couple of things. This is all very on the fly for us. Kind of take your plan and throw it out the window as things change and things happen. So we appreciate you sticking with us tonight. We're trying to bring you those results as they come in. And so with that, we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants at times. We appreciate your patience. And we will get you out to that speech momentarily. Let's take another look at the presidential election map. North Dakota with a soft lean. That's only just beginning, though. Just a couple thousand votes counted there. Let's go back to the East Coast, where things are probably a bit more solid as their polls closed a bit earlier. Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, South Carolina. We talked about these states earlier, but if you're just joining us, these hard-colored, solid red, solid blue, those are the ones that are confirmed and called in by the Associated Press. They have called those races. So for Trump, he's out to an early lead with Indiana, West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, South Carolina, and then a couple states leaning that way. One change that we've seen, and we talked with Dr. Dion with, Ohio was early on leaning more votes towards Harris. That has now shifted with 39% of the votes counted. Ohio wasn't necessarily considered a swing state. They did go blue in 2012. They went red in 2016 and in 2020, voting for Trump both times there. He's trying to win that state for a third time, but it is very close. 49.9% for Trump, 49.4% for Harris right now, with 40% of the votes counted there. That could end up being a very crucial state for these campaigns. Swing states we knew about coming in: Michigan leaning towards Harris right now, 5% of the votes counted, 57% for Harris. North Carolina getting much closer, but still leaning Harris with 13% of the votes counted. That's within half a point right there right now. Georgia, another swing state, that's leaning Trump, and pretty decidedly as we get almost 3 million votes counted so far, 52% and 52%, of the votes counted, 55% of them for Trump right now. And I do believe we just had another state called, I think it was Arkansas. 6 more points for Trump. So Trump up to 101, according to the Associated Press and their calls. Harris still sitting at 35. This is not far off of what we expected based on the polls and what we've seen in the past. These hard red colored states that we're seeing right here are typically states that are voting Republican. So this is not a surprise. Trump out to an early lead, but still a long way to go to get to 270, and a lot of swing states to be decided. Those are going to be the ones that truly give us a better look of who will win this election. Another live look in, we are still waiting for Senator Braun, now Governor-elect Mike Braun. Of course, that race was called very quickly after the polls closed. We had that race decided very fast. That was called just after 6 o'clock Central Time, that he was the winner, along with Mark Messmer in the 8th District for U.S. House, and also Jim Banks in the Senate, and Donald Trump winning both Kentucky and Indiana. I have a local update here for you real quick, and then we will continue standing by. Illinois has some votes coming in. 7% of the votes counted in Illinois. Not surprising, 58% of those Kamala Harris right now. Donald Trump at 40%. Again, 7% of the votes counted there. Illinois, a very historically Democratic state. And they have 19 electoral votes. Indiana with 11, Kentucky with 8. Indiana, Kentucky, very historically red. Illinois, very historically blue. Those are our 3 states here in the tri-state, and with a total of 19 on each side, they kind of cancel each other out when it comes to presidential elections. So just to give you a heads up, we are still waiting on Vanderburgh County results for a couple of local races of interest that we are keeping an eye on. Kentucky results are coming in a bit slower. We will get you out to Jamie French in just a bit, but we are waiting, and it looks, every time I look, I promise I'm not just trying to delay here. Every time I look, it looks like Senator Braun's about to pop up to the stage, but we haven't seen him just yet. Governor-elect Mike Braun, current Senator Mike Braun. We are waiting for him to give a speech. That was supposed to happen about half an hour ago, so we appreciate your patience as we are kind of on his time right now, waiting for him. An exciting night, so we don't blame him for being just a little bit late, but it looks like things are moving along there. And then we will get out to Jamie. Christy, if you want to bring Jamie in here, yeah, I think that's a good idea, just to give you guys kind of a behind-the-scenes look. We cannot get to Jamie in the studio while we still have Braun's shot pulled up, so that's why we are kind of at a standstill right now. But we're going to grab Jamie French. We're going to bring her in here because we have a lot of interesting things happening in Kentucky, some state races that we're keeping an eye on, also some delays in Jefferson County, which we will get her take on. She's been looking into that in our newsroom for us. I got a text right here from Caroline. I want to make sure that we don't miss anything, so give me 1 second. Our Caroline Clapp in Indianapolis for us tonight. Caroline says nothing yet, so we will go ahead and try to get Jamie French in here. And she is coming in here. Christy Monroe doing the producing for us tonight. We appreciate it. As election night, you never know what you're going to get. So we appreciate your patience. And here comes Jamie now. So we'll get her set up. As we do that, we'll take one last look at the map here before we move on to some local Kentucky stuff. And we'll actually go ahead and pull up the Kentucky results here as Jamie comes in and gets set up with us. So we've got Donald Trump, as we mentioned, that happened very early on for Kentucky, him winning that. And then also James Comer. That's one thing that Jamie is here to talk with us about, and we'll go ahead and bring in Jamie now. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, Jordan. How are you? Yeah, these results came in actually just moments ago. I was just watching them come in periodically. We first knew that James Comer, he is the Republican incumbent. He won for State Representative 1st District. Now, that covers our Henderson, Hopkins, Union, and Webster County. So at last check, he won by 72% of the vote. So pretty good stretch there. And then actually just as I was stepping into the room, we saw that Brett Guthrie also the Republican incumbent, won re-election as well. That was updating periodically as far as how much he has won by so far. 69.5% was the last check. But he covers a good stretch of our tri-state counties. That's Davis, Hancock, McLean, Muhlenberg, Ohio, quite a lot of
Let's
them.
pull that up here because we have a map actually. So District 1 you were talking about first with James Comer. This is our map. We're talking Hopkins County, Webster, Union, and that's about it for us here locally. But also for District 2, which you were talking about. Actually, I got to switch it up here. So give me 1 second. And you said Brett Guthrie, as we see the Associated Press has called. That's some other of our counties: Davis County, Ohio County, McLean County, Hancock County. I don't think I'm forgetting anyone. Muhlenberg. How could I forget about Muhlenberg County down there? As you can see, those red dots, the larger they are, the more votes are in and the more sure that they are more percentage leaning towards Guthrie. That's the word that we're looking for. So, Jamie, those two, not necessarily a surprise with Kentucky typically leaning pretty red, but we do have those results. Can you talk to us about what's happening in Jefferson County? Because I've mentioned it a couple times. This is where Louisville is, and we had a little bit of an issue there earlier today. What's going on?
Yeah, so actually I wrote some notes here because it was sort of an ever-changing situation for a little bit. Right now, what we do know from our sister station Wave News there in Louisville, they're reporting that a lawsuit has been filed by the Kentucky Democratic Party that's against the county clerk's office there in Jefferson County, as well as the Board of Elections there. It's because they've had a lot of mishaps today. As soon as the polls opened this morning, they started having their voting machines fail, completely shut off, turn off, not working at all. Every time that would happen, they'd have to reset it, which would take about 3 to 5 minutes each time to reset for each voter. So ballots were not getting printed, essentially.
Sure.
They had to reset a lot of things. I know that, like as far as internet connection and whatnot. But essentially, all in all, they've got it working. That's according to our Kentucky Attorney General. He said this afternoon they got it working, but because of that, they pushed voting back to 8 p.m. tonight. So the polls did not close there till 8 p.m. And that's sort of pushing back a lot of our Kentucky results because they voted a lot later. But the result, it was resolved fairly quick. It just, I know, put a damper on their morning there in Jefferson County.
Absolutely. Louisville, a large chunk of Kentucky, so you can imagine a lot of those state races taking a while to be called, especially, I mean, we just talked about Brett Guthrie, but that parts of Louisville right there in Jefferson County, he represents them. So that could be why we were getting slower results there. A very interesting situation and one that we'll definitely have to keep tabs on because that is not what you want on Election Day. Are there any other races that we're keeping an eye on in Kentucky, either state or locally?
Yeah, we're still waiting on a couple of our state representative seats to come in right now. We've got the 14th district as well. That's between Republican Scott Lewis and Democrat Shanda Gardner. That's Davis, Hancock, Ohio counties. We're still waiting on that to come in. Our 4th district representative in the state just covers Hopkins. We're still waiting on that result as well. 12th district is McLean, Union, Webster. Still waiting on those results. Of course, that's Jim Gooch Jr., who's the Republican incumbent there. And the 5th district is Ohio County. That's a state representative there that we're still waiting on. So quite a few more state representative races that are still a little too close to be called right now. But of course, I'm keeping an eye on them for you. They're coming in periodically, so I'll keep you updated if any of them come in anytime soon.
Absolutely. And you will have an update for us over the air here in just a few minutes. So
sure will.
We'll let you get back to it. You've done a great
right.
job tonight.
Thank
We're
you.
also, Jamie mentioned those issues in Jefferson County. We are still waiting on the results for Amendment 1 and 2, something that we've been covering a lot for you here on 14 News. Our Isaac Calvert is camped out in Henderson for us tonight. Once we get those final results, we'll kind of walk through with him what those mean. I mean, if you're a Kentucky voter, you were asked yes or no on both of those things. We'll dive in a little bit deeper because some of them could have been confusing. Once we get a result, yes or no, and he'll break down, okay, what's changing or what's not changing with those. We are continuing, I feel like a broken record here, Christy, to wait on Governor-elect Mike Braun at a hotel in downtown Indianapolis. We apologize if you've been camping out waiting for that speech. We will get it to you. Also coming up here, we'll check in with Liz DeSantis, who is in Owensboro for us following that mayoral race. Again, we read you those results just a bit ago. Incumbent Tom Watson, current mayor Tom Watson in Owensboro, out to a bit of a lead. Those numbers were not final. Once they are, we'll check in with Liz DeSantis and hopefully get some reaction from either Mayor Watson or Pamela Smith-Wright, his challenger. Whoever ends up pulling that out, we'll try to get sound and hear from them as well. We'll give you another live look in just so you know I'm not lying. We are still waiting. Those people have been on stage there for well over half an hour now, waiting for Mike Braun to come up. Again, big night for him, so we don't blame him for being a bit late, but we will get you that if you stick with us. We'll also send you a push alert when that's happening. And then Randy Moore and Jamie French will be coming back out over the air, and we'll carry that here as well with a cut-in here in about 5 minutes. While we wait, we have some changes. So the most interesting thing that we've been looking at tonight has been the presidential election map. Let's go ahead and take another look at that now. Illinois has been called. So all 3 of our tri-state counties have now been called. AP saying that Illinois, unsurprisingly, has voted for Kamala Harris. She's got 56% of the vote. Just 9% of the vote has been counted so far, but they are willing to say that she is going to win that state. That puts her up. We must have had another change here because she's at 71 now, and I think she was at 31 before, so the math doesn't check out there. Looks like Delaware has been called. I don't think we saw Delaware before. Rhode Island, I'm not sure we saw before either, so that would probably add up to why we are seeing 71. So 71 to 101. Again, that magic number is 270 for the presidential election. Looks like we are going to be waiting for Mike Braun just a little bit longer. Let's run you through some local results here, and then as I mentioned, in just a few minutes, we'll be getting out to Randy Moore and Jamie French in the studio for an election night update from them. Let me go ahead and pull up our election results here and run you through, see if we've got anything other local in Kentucky. That's actually not where I wanted to go. I wanted to go here and click on More Kentucky. So far, okay, let's actually talk about the amendments real quick because we had briefly touched on that. Amendment 1 prohibits non-citizens from voting. These are not final results. We got 58% of the vote counted. It is leaning yes. And Amendment 2, which allows public funds to go to non-public education, also leaning yes with 60% of the vote counted. Again, our Isaac Calvert's been covering that for us extensively leading up to the election. We will also go back out to him. He's camped out in Henderson for us tonight. He'll give us a breakdown once we have a call one way or the other which one is going to be the winner and tell you what that means for you in Kentucky. House of Representatives, that is District 1 and 2. We just heard from Jamie French. That is James Comer and Brett Guthrie. We heard that they are winners. Other results haven't been called yet, so we'll move on down. We have some results from Davis County. Let's go ahead and run through those. Looks like the Court of Appeals judge in District 1 is Lisa Jones, has a pretty sizable lead there. These are not the final results, but we're taking a look here. Scroll down and see if we can find Mayor. There's Mayor. I had more updated numbers than this, so I'll have to give you an update, but incumbent Tom Watson is leading here. I believe he had about 6,400 votes last time I checked, so we'll have to get you a better update on that. City Commissioner is another big one. We have 4 open seats, 4 people out to a bit of a lead with Bob Glenn, Jeff Sanford, Sharon Neesmith, and Curtis Maglinger, but those are not final either, and it is pretty close, so that could change, but that's a big one as well. Moving on down, don't have Hancock County numbers just yet. Henderson County, we've got, again, these are not final, but we've got some for a judge. Lisa Jones leading there. Scroll on down. Hopkins. Oh, that's Henderson City Commissioner's race. We're picking 4 there, and it is pretty close there at the bottom. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Again, once we get those final results, we'll, of course, bring those to you once we have something more concrete. Hopkins County, McLean County, nothing just yet. Muhlenberg County, nothing. Ohio County, Union County, nope. And Webster County, no. Okay, so we mentioned Kentucky results coming in pretty slow, and that appears to still be the case. All right, so what we're going to do now is we are going to get you set up for our on-air team, Randy Moore and Jamie French. They are about to give an update on what's happening over the airwaves. We will take you to that as well. So we're going to go ahead and put you on a standby. Once they're done, we'll jump back in and hopefully hear from Mike Braun, but we'll have the most up-to-date election news for you in just a moment. For now, let's go ahead and stand by as we wait for Jamie and Randy in the studio. Just give us 1 second here. Let me get that pulled up for you. All right, go ahead and stand by. We'll take it out to them in just a moment.
From 14 News, the Tri-State's election coverage leader, this is a Decision 2024 live update.
Good evening, I'm Randy Moore with this 14 News election update. Republican and Du Bois County native Mike Braun will be Indiana's newest governor. In fact, let's go to Indianapolis for you right now. This race was called just after 6. He is taking to the podium for a victory speech. Let's listen in.
What a journey this has been. I think it was up at the Moontown Brewery that we celebrated. And the journey that I've been on over the last 7 years, most people would think you'd been crazy to do it in the first place. Dear, what do you think about that? No, it's good. Okay. All I can tell you is 7 years ago in August, when I declared to run for the U.S. Senate, there weren't many believers. And even folks close to you wondered, did you really have a game plan? Well, my game plan started very simply when I got to be the luckiest man alive to marry this lady here. Now you do all these fancy commercials and they don't even talk about you, they talk about my wife. We were lucky, I think, going way back when we made the decision, unlike most did then, to move back to our hometown. And when we did that, that set the stage for everything else that followed. Most people didn't think that made sense either. But had we not done that, I'm almost certain we wouldn't be here this evening. Yeah. When you marry someone that says the priority is to have my own business and raise a family, how in the hell could you argue with that? So we came back and did just that. We lived the American dream.
That's Governor-elect Mike Braun accepting victory tonight. You can hear the rest of this speech on our streaming platforms, and we can tell you that Mayor Tom Watson in Owensboro has won re-election. We return you now to NBC News coverage of election 2024.
From 14 News, the Tri-State's election coverage leader, this is a Decision 2024 live update.
Back with you now, Jordan Yaney here in our 14 News Digital News Desk studio. We're going to take you right back out to Governor-elect Mike Braun for the rest of his speech.
You didn't really have any real experience at it. As I've always said, politics and government are a lot easier than running a business. Any of you that own businesses, yeah. Hell, in government, you just got to be smart enough to not spend more than you take in. In business, you're signing the note. Your livelihood is on the line. And by the way, there are dozens of competitors in a real market that want to take a bite out of your flank. That is difficult. Now, the difference is when you jump into the political arena, business is over a span of time. 2 hard deadlines in politics, May and November. And then you need to take all the skills that you've learned in the real world, where you've been understated, underestimated, and you've overperformed, and then it's like shooting ducks on a pond. Because it's so assumed that you got to come from that pathway. I never did assume that. When you go to the U.S. Senate and you get a crew mostly of Hoosiers that come out there with you, you end up being the most successful freshman Senate office. That's something to be proud of. And yeah. And then in issues that really count, like healthcare, education, agriculture, you get more done than the senators out there you got to wheel out of there after 3 decades. Do you think I believe in term limits? Yes, I do. Everybody campaigns on it, and then they have amnesia once they get there. And let's throw in a balanced budget amendment to boot. As hard as it was to get there, it begs the question, why would you give it up? Wasn't going to do it more than 2 terms anyway. And when I saw the fork in the road to burn another 6 years there, when the numbers, the fact that they're borrowing now $1 trillion every 6 months, and it was annually just 6 years ago, the interest on the debt's as much as what we spend on defense. We need to shock that place into reality. And when you're an entrepreneur by trade, you generally, if you survive, know how to pick the best fork in the road. And there are many of them. And to me, if it was coming back to lead our state where you can set the agenda, where you're going to get along with a legislature, imagine what you can do with that. So we can be guaranteed that we're going to maintain great cash flow. That's a chip shot. I had to do that for 37 years. But then what are you going to do to make Indiana a place to where our kids and our grandkids want to move back to? For the 60 or 70 rural counties that we have that are flat or losing population, I can guarantee you, I know our state has 4 corners. I come from one of them, and I'm going to make sure that all of us as Hoosiers prosper. I'm going to do it with everything I've learned in the real world, the tutorial of 3 years being a state rep, 6 years in the big house, and we're going to take Indiana to places we've never seen before. Well, my political competitors don't, so I think we won that litigation today. I'm so anxious to hit the ground running. I promised all of you when I ran for Senate I'd be the most accessible senator we've ever had. I'm going to be the most entrepreneurial senator we ever had, and we've proven that in just 6 years. Imagine what you can do when you set the agenda, you get along with a legislature that believes in freedom and opportunity, faith, family, and community. So I'm going to take probably 3 days off the rest of this week. When you're on the road as much as you are running for office, you learn a lot. You meet all kinds of neat people. You've got to go to bed late and get up early. And I want to tell you this little story about the first time I met a guy named Donald Trump. That was about 6.5 years ago, 2 days after the primary, I get a call from him, Vice President Pence, congratulating me on that victory. Well, that was a moment of euphoria because it was a scrappy primary. You're up 1 point on Donnelly in the general, and then the wrath of Chuck Schumer and George Soros descend upon you. You remember all those? Did you like Chuck Schumer, dear? Okay. You just have to fight through it. And the hard part about this job, especially on the national scene, less so when you're in a state, it's less ideological, it's more about running something. It still can work you down. It can get to you. But the one thing, the way we were raised, if you've got good principles and you stick to them, regardless of what you pursue, if you stick to them, you'll end up in the long run doing okay. And then I come back to faith, family, and community. We've been blessed beyond any measure. All I can tell you is now we've jumped this hurdle, this hard deadline, and really I can't wait to hit the ground running, taking this state to a place where they put us with Texas, Florida, Tennessee. And the thing I appreciate most is when I jumped into the arena 7 years ago, there weren't many believers. Even folks that knew you well, they didn't think it could be done. I hope finally now, those that didn't believe know that when I put my mind to it, I'm going to do it in an understated way. I'm going to overperform and deliver results, and you can count on that when I hit the ground running. And I'm thankful to the good Lord. I'm thankful to all of you that were with me early and all of you that have come along on the way. Much appreciated. And thank you, dear, for being my most stalwart supporter. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And that was the victory speech for Indiana Governor-elect, current Senator Mike Braun, winning very early on tonight. You just heard from him. He has a couple more things that he's talking about now, but we have other races to update you on, so we're going to go ahead and take it back from him. We have a final in a couple of very key Kentucky races that we've been following. Let's start in Owensboro. Incumbent Mayor Tom Watson has won re-election. He won 56, almost 57% of the vote over his competitor, Pamela Smith Wright. We'll go ahead and pop that up here for you real quick. There's that. Tom Watson there on the left, winning re-election again. He will be the mayor of Owensboro for the next 4 years. Liz is called in right now. She's calling in. Let me just go ahead and hang up there. We're going to have our Liz DeSantis, as you might have just heard. She is standing by for us. She will be calling in very soon, so we'll go ahead and get that set up for everybody. Because she has been following this race for us, this Watson versus Smith Wright race. Liz is standing by. Liz, go ahead and give us a thumbs up if you can hear us, and we will send it out to you. We have Liz. I love when things work out like that, don't you, Christy? It's just great. Liz DeSantis is standing by in Owensboro. Okay, Liz, walk us through this because it was a little bit back and forth. What are you hearing in Owensboro right now?
Well, I'm here actually right now where all the votes were just being counted here at the Davis County Courthouse. You can see they're actually winding things down for the night here behind me. But now with all of the vote in, all polling places reporting 100% of the votes being counted, Owensboro's incumbent Mayor Tom Watson is now the projected winner. Now, Watson has secured a little less than 57% of the vote here tonight, with Pamela Smith Wright trailing behind with about 43% of that vote.
All right, Liz. So a re-election there for Mayor Watson, but we had other things that we were keeping an eye on. There was a lot, 4 seats, I believe, if I'm correct, in the city commission up for grabs. Do we have finals for that as well?
Yes, we do. We got those just about the same time a few minutes ago here. So all 4 city commissioner seats were up for grabs here this evening. Right now we know that the 4 new people that will be city commissioners are Curtis Maglinger, he won 15% of the vote. Bob Glenn coming in with 17% of the vote. Sharon Neesmith with 15% of the vote, and Jeff Sanford with 16% of the vote. Now, a little history on these candidates if you're not familiar. Bob Glenn and Sharon Neesmith are incumbents. They've already been city commissioners before. In addition to Jeff Sanford, lost out not this last election, but the one before that, narrowly losing his seat in city commission. So he's actually been re-elected, taking back his seat in city commission. And you may recognize the name Maglinger for Curtis Maglinger. His father, Larry Maglinger, recently died, and Sharon Neesmith took over her seat last year.
Okay, Liz. So a lot of things going on there. Anything else that you're keeping tabs on in Owensboro? If you're looking on your screen, we've pulled up those results for you. Anything we can expect from you tonight in your coverage? Are you speaking with Mayor Watson or any of the winners for City Commission?
Yeah, I've actually had the chance to already tonight speak with both Mayor Watson and Pamela Smith-Wright. Now, they were both celebrating privately at their homes, just surrounded by a tight-knit group of friends and family earlier this evening. I did speak with incumbent Mayor Watson, who, of course, has just won re-election here. He says he's excited to begin this next term without a deficit for the city. This is something that he says he hasn't been able to do before, and he of course is excited with the prospect of working with this brand new city commission that's just been re-elected here. He also says he's worked before. This will be Watson's 4th term as mayor, actually, and so he's actually worked with 3 out of the 4 city commissioners before that have just won re-election here tonight. Now, Watson says he plans to continue work on the Sportsplex in Owensboro and also continue revitalizing downtown. When I spoke with Pamela Smith-Wright earlier this evening, that was, of course, before any and all votes were finalized here tonight, but she wanted to thank her supporters. Obviously, she did secure a sizable chunk of the vote here tonight, 43% of the vote. And I did speak with several of her supporters here today at the Sports Center, one of the main polling places here in Owensboro. And there were a number of people who expressed strong support for her, so hoping to maybe see some change. So Pam just wanted to reach out and thank all of her supporters and everyone that came to support her as well.
Absolutely, Liz. Thank you so much for your coverage. It looks like they're kind of wrapping things up there behind you. We know you have a lot of work to get done as well for our 10 o'clock newscast tonight. Good work down there in Owensboro. We've got an incumbent for a 4th term, some familiar faces on the city commission, some new ones as well. Good job, Liz DeSantis, reporting for us in Owensboro. Meanwhile, we have more Kentucky results coming in. 2 amendments were on your ballot today if you were one of our Kentucky voters, and we want to go ahead and give you those. Let's pull up our Mac again. A yes and a no. We had a yes on Amendment 1 with almost 1 million votes there, 62%, and a no on Amendment 2, 65% there. Also had some wet dry votes that we were discussing earlier on. Our Isaac Calvert has kind of been the expert for us on all things Kentucky as far as those amendments and those wet dry votes. We are working to get him with us here in just a moment, so you'll stand by and we'll get his take on all of that, and he'll explain to us, okay, Amendment 1, that's a yes. What does that mean? Same with 2 and those wet dry votes as well. So with our results, let's take one last look as we wait for Isaac with the presidential race happening. We had a couple of new things happen since we last came in. Let's go ahead and pop that up for you. Donald Trump now still in the lead with 120 electoral votes. Kamala Harris, 99. New York has now been called for Harris. That's a big one. That's 28 electoral votes. And a lot of, what's that? He has not called in yet. We're still waiting on Isaac. North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, and Nebraska all filled in for Trump. Those races have been called. A big thing that we do want to mention that has switched since we last looked at the map. Ohio has gone red. That is looking like 50% of the votes there. Trump with a 53.5% to Harris's Okay, actually, Ohio just went solid red. So that was expected. That has been a swing state in the past. It is not going to be a swing state this year. Ohio, just as we were speaking about it, called for Trump. That puts him up to 137 on the road to 270. He is halfway there. What I was getting to was North Carolina has now switched. So earlier that was a soft lean towards Harris. Now it's a soft lean towards Trump. 40% of the votes. This is a big swing state. Trump 52, just under 52%. Harris just over 47% there. So as things keep changing, we will keep updating you. Trump 137, Harris 99. So far, things going about as the experts in the polls had predicted. Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, all states to watch. We will continue to keep you updated on that. Meanwhile, Isaac Calver is standing by for us in Henderson. Isaac, go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you can hear us, and we will come out to you. And we've got the thumbs up. That's what we're always looking for here at the Digital News Desk. Okay, Isaac, a lot on the ballot for Kentucky voters. You've done a great job handling this for us because a lot of this can be a little bit complicated. Starting with Amendment 1. It's a yes. So what does that mean?
Yeah, Jordan, that's right. There were two consequential items on this year's ballot, and specifically here in Kentucky. We'll start with Amendment 1. Like you said, it got voted yes. The last time I checked, it was winning by almost 200,000 votes. So let's talk about Amendment 1 really quick. It is proposed that it would change two sections of the Constitution of Kentucky, Sections 145 and Sections 155. It would add the following language. This is the sentence that it would add. No person who is not a citizen of the United States shall be allowed to vote in this state. So essentially, it's non-U.S. citizens not being allowed to vote in Kentucky. That is what was voted in. That is what will be the new amendment to the Constitution for Amendment 1.
Okay, Isaac, thank you. Great job breaking it down. That one was a little bit more confusing than Amendment 2, but Amendment 2 still worth breaking down. That's a no. What does that mean?
That's right. Well, like we were just talking about, Amendment 1, like you said, one of the lesser known amendments. However, it was a complete shift for Amendment 2. Amendment 2, on the other hand, last time I checked, also the no votes were up by almost 200,000. Now, going back to some of the board meetings that I spoke with some school board officials, a lot of them were against Amendment number 2, which would take public tax dollars and give to private schools. Now, a lot of private schools, they can't accept some students, whereas public schools can. So that was the argument for a lot of those public school board officials. However, those who were in favor of Amendment 2 say that those who were opposed to it cared more about the money aspect of it rather than the kids. So the school choice bill was a little bit confusing as well, but nonetheless, it seems the message was clear for a lot of Kentucky voters when it comes to voting yes or no on that one.
Okay, so just to recap real quick, it was a no, the Associated Press predicting a no. So the takeaway there, a no means no change to the current funding, is that correct?
That's right. No change whatsoever. No public tax dollars will go towards private schools, charter schools, anything of that nature.
Okay, before we let you go, Isaac, something else we were keeping an eye on in McLean County, a wet dry vote. What's happening there?
Yeah, definitely. Well, some breaking news. I mean, this is, kind of historical right here. Island, Sacramento, and Livermore, three small communities in the small county of McLean County, officially voted wet in this year's election. Let me pull up the actual statistics of what those were. In the city of Livermore, 66% of people voted yes to make the county wet, 34% no. Sacramento, 63% or 62%. And then Island, 63%. So kind of even in each city and town, but nonetheless, it's big for the community for all of those communities and the county of McLean County, because the sales of alcoholic beverages will now be allowed for the first time in quite a while.
All right, Isaac, thank you so much for your work out there. We appreciate it. We'll let you go. Now I want to welcome back in our political expert tonight, Dr. Robert Dion. We've had a lot of change. So first, let's start by pulling up the computer here. Right now, as things stand, Trump with 177, and that is races that have officially been called by the Associated Press. Harris with 99. Looking through this map, we earlier talked about North Carolina with a lean towards Harris. Now that's a lean towards Trump.
Right.
Georgia still hasn't been called. Pennsylvania, Michigan has not been called. What's your take on the current outlook of the map right now?
The thing that jumps out at me is Wisconsin's leaning Republican. And if she can't win Wisconsin, she can't be president. So with the map as you're showing it to me, if she wins Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, then she gets enough electoral votes to be president. But if she can't win Wisconsin, then she's in trouble.
So are you saying that right now, with the way this map is shaping out, it's going to come down to Wisconsin?
Well, just saying that Wisconsin is shaded red as we speak. And earlier, of course, Texas was shaded blue. So
Anything can
it's
change.
early in the night.
Sure. Okay, let's go ahead and run through our map one more time here. We've got this pulled up, and if you're just joining us, we did this a little bit earlier. This is NBC News' map as it stood in the polls and with the experts and what has traditionally happened in the past. All the states you see red, this is a prediction for states that were expected to go red. Same with blue. Blue states, this is not the actual results. This is what was expected. There's a couple of gray states. Those were the swing states.
Yep.
Let's fill it in as if things are happening right now. So if it stands, we have North Carolina leaning towards red, Georgia leaning towards red.
That's right.
Pennsylvania blue, Michigan blue. And you said Wisconsin red.
It's red for the moment.
So if that's red, that would put Trump at 261 with Arizona and Nevada still not called.
Yeah, and he's likely to win Arizona. So,
Likely to win Arizona.
If
So
you win Arizona, you're over the top.
Sure. Vice versa. Let's talk about Wisconsin, since that seems to be one that you said that Harris cannot win without. If she were to get Wisconsin, she would be at 269 and just need Nevada or
Yeah,
Arizona.
the problem here is you don't have Omaha. Omaha in the state of Nebraska votes separately. They divvy it up by district in Nebraska, so she'll get one.
Okay, I think
out
I
of
can do that
Nebraska.
down here. Hold on one second. So you would say that those two would be red and the one would be blue.
That's it, and that gets you to 270.
That gets you to 270.
Yep.
And that is something that is going to happen.
It seems very likely.
Okay.
I mean, there was an effort by the Trump campaign to go after the blue dot in Nebraska, and then it just never materialized. So I would be astonished if Omaha went for Trump with the rest of the state.
Sure. So if things stand the way that they are right now, Wisconsin would look like a win for Harrison. Wisconsin would look like a
That would
Harris
seal the deal.
win.
Yeah.
Typically with Wisconsin, what kind of time frame are we looking at?
Gosh, I don't know. I don't
That's
know.
that's the question, isn't it?
Wisconsin, it's a very tough fought state. They had a really bitter Senate race 2 years ago
Sure.
between Ron Johnson and Mandela Barnes, and it was decided by less than 1 percentage point. So it could be very tight for the rest of the night. I don't know that either side is going to feel comfortable until that thing gets locked in, and who knows, it might be sometime tomorrow or later than that.
Absolutely.
Now, if she wins Arizona, which Biden did 4 years ago,
Sure. Let's put that in there.
if
And
she loses Wisconsin,
do you want it to put it red or gray?
yeah, red
Red. Okay. There you go. It's still a win. Arizona
by-
would still be a win.
by a hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's everybody keeps talking about how it's a photo finish, and that's where we are.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and take one more look. We appreciate you joining us with this as we get one more take. Let's make sure nothing's changed since we last took a look. 99 to 177. Map as a whole, everything's sticking to plan except for the swing states so far based on
Wait a
this,
minute.
correct?
So Iowa is filled in, and Iowa's looking blue, which is actually
Blue.
that's supposed to be a Republican state.
Let's take a look at that because we talked about that earlier. So we've
Yeah.
got 9% of the vote so far in Iowa, but a big lead early for
That's
Harris.
I would expect Texas came in blue, and then it's
Sure.
now it's deep red, and
Sure.
I think Iowa's going to switch the more results come in there.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be something that we'll have to keep an eye on for sure. Anything else that stands out before we jump off the map?
No, I mean, here's the thing about this election is that billions are being spent, and when all is said and done, everything returns to form. We're still back where we started. We're going to have divided government when we get back. And in every state, the outcome is not a surprise.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we've got the swing states that we'll be keeping an eye on. Indiana, Kentucky, and Illinois, our local states, going about as we expected.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Diane, we appreciate it. We know that you'll be back on air with us throughout the night here on 14 News. We appreciate that. As we have checked in with all of our results, I think that actually might just about do it for us here. We will, of course, jump back in if anything else happens. We've been getting pretty slow with the Vanderburgh County results, so we'll try to get you those as they come in. But an update on the presidential election just now with our political expert. The races we were following: Mike Braun elected to be the next governor, Jim Banks to the U.S. Senate, Mark Messmer here in Indiana locally. Of course, with our Kentucky races, both Republicans winning for the U.S. representatives there as well. It is going to be a long night if you're someone that does not want to go to bed until this presidential race has been called. We will stick with it. If anything else changes, if anything dramatic happens, we'll jump back in here and send you a push alert to let you know. But for now, Jordan Yaney coming to you from our digital news desk here at our 14 News station. If Vanderburgh County results come in or anything else changes, we will let you know. But as of now, we will see you on air for our cut-ins here in NBC's coverage or tonight for 14 News at 10. Good night.